They're certainly going to try, and this man, Benjamin Sesko, is high on their list. I'm told that initial talks are now taking place between Arsenal and RB Leipzig over Sesko. They're understood, or Arsenal, to be exploring the conditions of a deal, because whereas before there might have been a release clause, it's our understanding it's not as simple as that now. So RB Leipzig can basically charge what they feel they want. And I think they're basing their valuation, like some other clubs do, by comparing what other strikers are going for. So they might look at the likes of Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak and say, well, if they're worth that much, then Benjamin Sesko will be worth this much. And we think, according to Sky in Germany, it's around 80 million it's going to cost Arsenal. But it's clear, if there's no release clause, Arsenal can go into talks as a starting point for negotiation. So they will try and bring that price down. Now, as far as Leipzig are concerned, Sesko is very relaxed about his situation there, and he's not going to rock the boat. That said, he's attracted by the prospect of a potential move to Arsenal and playing in the Champions League, which RB Leipzig won't have next season. And it's not just him that Arsenal are looking at, because we have been talking for many windows about strikers that they have been interested in. And internally, they will still discuss the likes of the man we've mentioned before in Victor Gyökeres. But Sesko, it seems, is climbing up that list as far as Arsenal are concerned.
Carve, when we asked about Arsenal and their striker, they briefed, didn't they? And they told us, no, we're going to wait until we get the right striker. Is Benjamin Sesko for £80 million the right striker?
I don't think Arsenal would pay that much for him, and even if they did, it would be in instalments. Potentially, he could be the answer to what they're looking for. He's one of the best young strikers in Europe. He's proved himself. Arsenal have been watching him very, very closely for a long time. I think he's still 22, so he would have resale value as well, whereas Gyökeres, I think, has just turned 27. So that wouldn't necessarily be the case with him.
Couldn't they fall into the Højlund trap, though, of spending a lot of money on potential?
Good question. All I would say is, personally, last summer when we were reporting on Højlund, there was a few people here who work with us who'd been out to Italy and watched Højlund play, and they weren't that impressed with him, and they couldn't really understand why United were paying that much for him. I hadn't watched Højlund before he came to United. With Sesko, I can say personally I have seen him play. I saw him play last summer for Slovenia against England, and I wasn't that impressed, but only because he didn't do much, because Slovenia were defending for 90 minutes. He did a lot off the ball as well. But from what I've seen and what other people will have watched on clips or watching games in the Bundesliga, he looks like a fantastic young player. And he looks like a player who could really develop working under Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. And I think if I was an Arsenal fan, I would be very excited about the prospect of him becoming an Arsenal player.
I think that's what Carve says there about development. That's what Arsenal will look at as well, and any club will look at when they're going to spend big money on a player. They will see Sesko maybe as having a really high ceiling, given his age and his development so far at Leipzig. They've probably seen something, Arsenal, to think, well, yeah, his record goals-wise has been beaten by other players in the Bundesliga, admittedly, but if he was to come into this team, these are the kind of chances we'd be creating, and these are the number of goals maybe he could get at Arsenal, because they see his potential as being a lot higher than maybe some of their other targets.
Sure. And to be fair to Højlund joined a team who were having one of their worst ever seasons in the top flight, where Sesko would be moving, if he moves to Arsenal, would be moving to a really top-class team who may be just a striker away from winning the title.
And I think the difference between Sesko and Højlund as well, Højlund, you say, was joining a struggling team, but also he was expected to lead the line for Manchester United. Sesko is going to be joining a club where there's a lot of experience in the forward areas already, and a lot of Premier League experience in the forward areas already. So if they wanted to just ease him in if they were to buy him, they'd be able to do that. I don't think United kind of had that option because there were no other strikers there.
And I still think there's a very good chance that Højlund will come good. He's a very young player. United had a terrible season. He wasn't at his best. But that doesn't mean that in the future he's not going to develop and show everybody what he's capable of.
And who knows, if Gyökeres was to join United, would he be the perfect player to come into United with experience to help Højlund along?
Sure. As you can tell, a lot to talk about with this. We're going to revisit at 7 o'clock. Arsenal, Dharmesh, it feels to me like they are going to be busy this window, in and out. What else is bubbling around there?
Martin Zubimendi, that one is still bubbling along. He's expected to have a medical soon, is what I've been told, at Arsenal. Everything about that deal looks like it's done. A £51 million release clause, which Arsenal will pay, and the personal terms have been agreed in principle. So once he gets his medical, it's expected that he will become an Arsenal player. I think they still want to keep Thomas Partey to Arsenal. There have been interest via his representatives from clubs in Saudi and in Europe, because he's a free agent as it stands very, very soon. Come the end of June, he's going to be out of contract at Arsenal. But negotiations are continuing between Arsenal and his representatives about extending that deal, because Arsenal do definitely want to keep him. As far as other forward areas go, we do know that there's an interest, which has got a lot of Arsenal fans excited, in Real Madrid's Rodrygo.
Yeah.
Now, as it stands, he's expected to be part of Real Madrid's squad for the FIFA Club World Cup. Thereafter, let's see what can happen. But again, like I've been saying with United and with Arsenal, he's just one of a number of players that they're looking at in that specific area. But I think what might attract Arsenal about Rodrygo is the fact that he can play along the front line. I know predominantly he's been playing on the right, and people will say, well, how's he going to oust someone like Bukayo Saka from the team? But he can play in the centre and he can play on the left as well.
Okay.
Arsenal transfer news on Benjamin Sesko. Arsenal are reportedly advancing in a deal ahead of Manchester United and Liverpool to sign RB Leipzig star Benjamin Sesko, as per transfer expert Fabrizio Romano. Club are planning to reinforce the squad this summer to help the Spanish boss finally win something next season. On Caught Offside, Romano recently said that Arsenal are keen on purchasing a new striker, and Sesko is very high on their shortlist. They first started talking over this deal just over a week ago and have been in concrete discussions with Leipzig and the player's representatives since. Liverpool and Manchester United are also in the market to bolster the centre-forward position and have identified Sesko as a serious option. But Arsenal are the only club in talks at the moment. Now, the Italian journalist claims that Arteta's side are advancing to seal the deal, but an agreement isn't close yet. After extending his contract last summer, the 22-year-old still has 4 years left in his existing deal, so the German side are in a strong position to demand a big fee for him and have slapped a £70 million price tag on his head. The Emirates club hold a long-term interest in Sesko as they initially tried to purchase him ahead of last season. But the player eventually opted to remain at Red Bull Arena. Although Leipzig endured a tough campaign last term, failing to qualify for European football, Sesko displayed impressive performances, making 27 goal contributions in all competitions. Moreover, he has showcased his qualities on the international stage as well and is the fourth highest scorer for Slovenia. He is a highly talented player and possesses the potential to become a world-class striker in the future. Therefore, the Leipzig star would be an excellent acquisition for the North London club should they eventually manage to secure his service in this transfer window. Benjamin Sesko appears to have emerged as the striker Arsenal will pursue ahead of Viktor Gyökeres. The Slovenian is now expected to join the Gunners, a year after declining a move in favour of remaining at RB Leipzig for further development. Arsenal are actively progressing with the transfer and will look to finalise the move in the coming weeks. Despite the availability of Gyökeres, who has been in prolific form over the last 2 seasons, the club has opted for Sesko. This decision may raise questions among some fans who believe the Swede offers a more immediate impact in front of goal. The choice reflects a strategic approach focused on long-term potential rather than short-term returns. Sesko is still only 21 and possesses significant upside, with the capacity to evolve into a world-class striker. In contrast, Gyökeres, while more experienced and currently more prolific, is arguably closer to his peak. Supporters may debate which player would offer more value in the short term, but the club's commitment to developing a younger talent seems to have tipped the scales in favor of Sesko. This move suggests a long-term vision rather than an urgent attempt to close the gap on domestic rivals. Crucial consideration in the decision may be Sesko's strong fitness record. As cited by Football London, although Gyökeres is not considered injury-prone, Sesko has only experienced 3 injuries in his senior career, all during his time at RB Salzburg. These absences totaled just 61 days. Since joining RB Leipzig, he has remained consistently available and has not missed a single match due to injury. In a league where player availability can define a season, such durability provides an added layer of appeal. Arsenal are hoping that with proper integration and support, Sesko will thrive and become a consistent goal threat capable of leading the line for years to come. This decision highlights the club's focus on building sustainably and intelligently, even if it means passing on more immediately impactful options.